Okay, I think we're live. Welcome, everyone. This is our, I guess, third roughly annual roadmap reveal. It was just about a year ago that I think we did the last one. So this is an event that I think Gabriel and I have come to look forward to, where we have the opportunity to provide an update on what is happening with Rocket.Chat, what we've been focusing on, things that we've deemed to be important, and to highlight some of the key things that are coming. So that's what we're here for today. We'll be going through again, a discussion of our focus, some key initiatives, and also some other important changes in how we do business, and some things that we think are changing that will benefit all of our workspace owners. So hi, everyone. I see all the hellos coming in.
Yeah, hello everybody. Yeah, been long time no see. A lot of the names there. Just yeah, too long since the last one. I think just one shout out. It's for people asking questions. Try not to do it on the chat tab. You can see underneath you have a questions tab as well. So on the questions tab, that is easier for us to track which ones have been answered or not answered, and even have a vote or on the question, so people can see by order. So please, if you're gonna write any questions, use the questions tab. Love the shout outs from different countries. It would be good to do a statistics of like how many countries we have here today. I think it's one of our most subscribed event in the year. So I'm very happy, and it's always, maybe we have to do more than once a year, because it's always a pleasure to see everybody.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, and so, as we get started, I'll kind of take us through a lot of the content, but Gabriel, as we were talking about, I think it would also be great for you to spend a couple minutes kind of talking about the year that we've just kind of gone through, and some of the key events and milestones for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very eventful year in many respects, both in regarding the product that you're gonna like talk about and show here, but even as a company itself, as we mature as an organization, as a project, there's also some very important milestones. One of them we have announced this month, which was a funding round for the company. And why a funding round on that stage for us, it's important because it shows that the company, it's on the right direction. Is the traction, like we have the confidence of our investors, that all our current investors participated on the round. But also we could attract some new investors, investors like Alexia, which have been very close and dear to us for a long time, and other investors like Endeavor Catalysts, Endeavor Scale Up, and even one of my favorite person in the world that also became an investor, Bob Young, the founder of Red Hat, that have been like following the project since the beginning, when I first did a presentation to him at All Things Open in Raleigh, talking about the vision of Rocket.Chat, what we were building as an open communication, distributed communication to the world, and how he got excited to do that. So we kept a relationship, and then now as there was an opportunity, he was very happy to jump in and be part of become a Rocketeer, be part of the family. So it was an important event for us, also because it allows us to continue to invest. There's so much going on generative AI, large language models, and obviously a chat solution, communication platforms are on the middle of all those things that are happening. And we all this advance, it shows how valuable a conversation is, the communications are, how much they become not just an interface to use services, and there's going to be such a proliferation of different services provided by different AI providers, but also how much you will be able to have insights and understand the organization, even help the flow of the process inside the organization by using AI, and how much then data sovereignty and privacy becomes a key factor while providing it. So I think the mission of Rocket.Chat, that providing private, secure, and proprietary communication to organizations, governments, communities, it's becoming more and more relevant. So we want to be able to invest and make Rocket.Chat a hub for all those services that people can use their data to then inform and automate and create all those processes, maybe using open source language models, maybe using services that they trust, choosing the provider, but really knowing for sure who has access to their communication, who is training language models on their data, who is taking their insights and how it's being used. So we want to provide organizations with the best way to make the most of everything that AI has to offer around their communications and process. So and having this investment in such a moment where we want to continue to grow, continue to invest on R&D and all the things that are happening, and get the company to a healthy growth, like a stable and sustainable growth. All those things are now we have secured with this investment. So makes me very happy, makes the organization very happy that Rocket.Chat has a long and viable future ahead of us.
Yeah, great intro, Gabriel. So, all right, let's dive into things. So, by way of introduction, I'm Chris Skelly. I'm the Chief Product Officer. I've been with Rocket.Chat for a little bit over 2 years now, I guess. Time does indeed fly by. And I am located in Washington, D.C., since I hadn't yet posted in the chat my location. So, to go ahead and get started. One thing I want to do is to go back to what we talked about a year ago and figure out, whether we've seen things shift or not. And this slide, interestingly enough, I actually just deadlifted without edits from last year. This is one of our statements of focus last year, and I was encouraged to see that we still believe in these truths. So from our perspective with Rocket.Chat, and what makes us unique and what we bring to the market is data sovereignty with interoperability. We feel that data ownership, the ability to have full control of your own data, some of your most important data, of course, is your organization's conversations. We feel that that's vital. We feel that organizations have to have choice to truly control their data, not always depend on a multi-tenant SaaS provider. And we provide that. But in addition, it's also vital to ensure that you remain connected to the world. Unless, of course, you're operating in an air-gapped environment and you choose not to, which we are happy to support. Staying connected, not putting yourself on an island when you focus on data ownership and data protection is key. And the same holds true for us now in terms of our focus, in the same way it did a year ago. So we've been focusing on things like adding external messaging channels to stay connected. We've been focusing on federated communications and expanding those capabilities. We've been focusing on improving, leveraging secure video conferencing. And we continue to offer new channels such as VoIP calling that can be added on. So, like I said, it's always good to look back at where we've been as we begin to look forward. And the key takeaway here is that our focus largely remains the same, and I think you'll see that reflected as we progress. In addition, and I think most of the people on the call know this, but as a reminder, we are a commercial open source organization. Our core is and will remain MIT licensed open source. And then, of course, we have our commercial capabilities that are available by subscription. as we progress and as we grow the organization, like what Gabriel was talking about, we always have to think about the balance between growing the community, growing the customer base, growing and funding the core team so that we can all thrive. And as we kind of look back, I wanted to make sure to take a look at how we've done recently, specifically with the open core. So some really good things and some areas of improvement. So first of all, we've had so far this year, we've had 68 community PRs that have been reviewed and merged. That's great. We do have a lower rate of community PRs that can be merged just due to the complexity of our code base, the need to be able to operate at scale, the checks to ensure that all of any new code is actually going to be performant at scale. But we've done well on that. It's an area that we want to continue to improve on. We've had hundreds of community issues that have been resolved, but to call it out, there are too many that are still open. And as we progress, that's something we'll talk about today. Apps Engine. I think most people are probably familiar with Apps Engine. Apps Engine is our toolkit for creating fully encapsulated extensions to Rocket.Chat that can be added to any workspace, either by publishing to our marketplace or by sideloading to a workspace or group of workspaces. We've really been focusing on expanding that toolkit to enable UIKit component usage, to add new triggers and actions, and a variety of other improvements. One of the things I want to highlight is that's something that will continue. We see Apps Engine as a key way for us collectively to tap into our overall ecosystem. Every week these days, I see examples of really great innovative development that's being done by customers and by community members using Apps Engine to extend Rocket.Chat in ways that we haven't even thought of. And as I tell the core team members, Apps Engine is about us getting people into a mindset of not thinking about what Rocket.Chat does do, but what Rocket.Chat can do, all of the different ways that it can be extended. So a couple of shout outs, for example, just in the last few weeks, CCNet, a partner, demoed a number of apps to us relating to file scanning and security that were terrific and go beyond the overall capacity of our core team to deliver. So that's a huge step. We've seen a customer in the US and the mortgage industry who worked very quickly to develop and deploy Rocket.Chat apps that enable them to communicate with their customers across hundreds of different SMS numbers. Also a huge step. So as we go, the way to think about Apps Engine is it's a force multiplier for all of us, right? It breaks the dependency to say, the core team has to deliver all functionality, delivers the toolkit so all of us can be delivering capabilities. So huge positive steps. Google Summer of Code. Gabriel, we're on our 8th year. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Probably Singleaf is that can confirm me 7 or 8, but I think it's 8.
Yep. And so, it's Gabriel Casales just mentioned that's the 8th. So just to highlight, this is kind of a key part of our commitment to open source. We get some great projects every year coming out of the GSOC effort. That will continue for anybody who's participating. Our team members, Gabriel, I think including you, right, will be at the GSOC event next month, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
There.
That'll be fun.
I think it definitely will be. And then also, as we progress, we continue to add new features that are available to the community edition. Okay. So that's our scorecard. One of the things we're going to be looking at in the year ahead is how to further leverage the community on issue resolution and on improving our ability to ensure that when community members work on PRs, that they become mergeable code, right? That's in the interest of everyone. So that's something that Gabriel and I were talking about this week. of how can we begin to operationalize the process to ensure that we have community members focused, if they are interested in being contributors, that they're focused on the right items, working in the right way. Okay, so there'll be more on that as we go. All right. Okay. So to jump in, I'm going to just quickly touch on some things from the past year, just to really highlight where we've been. It's not an attempt to cover everything that's been worked on during the past year, but some highlights. And then we're going to shift our focus forward in terms of what's coming. So to quickly hit a few of these items, Matrix Federation. So as most people know, a little bit over a year ago, we decided to replace Rocket.Chat Workspace to Workspace Federation with the Matrix protocol. Our overall belief and focus is that we are all stronger together, and ensuring that messaging platforms can communicate seamlessly with each other via a standard protocol is in everyone's interest. So what we've been doing over the course of the past year is really focusing on making sure that our Matrix Federation capabilities can operate well at scale. So most recently, improvements to ensure that workspaces that are operating multiple instances and microservices are able to use Matrix Federation with other workspaces or other Matrix protocol compliant platforms in a way that is performant and seamless. There are more improvements on the way in terms of how the Matrix Federation deployments are managed and in terms of event coverage. So that's something we'll continue to work on, but some major steps forward. Okay. Second one, kind of tying back to Apps Engine, bridges, channels, and apps. We have pretty significantly expanded our inventory of apps and integrations, essentially, that are available via our marketplace. Okay, so the MS Teams bridge, be great if all messaging products were protocol compliant. That's not where we live, but we are able to manage communication with other non-protocol compliant platforms via bridges. So we launched a Teams Bridge app that's available to all workspaces, and we've had a great amount of adoption on that, and a good amount of feedback as it continues to evolve. We launched the WhatsApp Cloud app for organizations that choose not to use WhatsApp through a broker, which was a previous requirement for Meta. So that's also a big step forward. Chat GPT integration. We've launched a Chat GPT app, and I'd like to kind of pause and talk a little bit about generative AI and get Gabriel's input as well. But to illustrate where we're going with Chat GPT and generative AI overall, as Gabriel was noting earlier, a conversational platform, a team collaboration platform, an omni-channel customer communication platform like Rocket.Chat really is the ideal delivery mechanism for interacting with generative AI. So we've begun the process in terms of introducing a Chat GPT app due to community and customer demand. But an important thing to note, going back to the discussion on data ownership, protection, and sovereignty, in general, with our integrations, we try to provide options, an array of different options. And when we're thinking about the array of options, we also make sure that self-managed, on-prem solutions are an option. So as we progress, we are going to be expanding the Chat GPT app capabilities to do things like summarize a thread or summarize a recent conversation, and a lot of productivity features that will be very useful to the teams that use Rocket.Chat. We'll be also introducing capabilities on the omni-channel side of things for customer communication. But what we won't do is focus specifically on a single provider. So we will also be introducing options for on-prem self-managed solutions. So if you have your own Llama 2 trained model, if you have an Alpaca model that you've deployed, we'll provide facilities for being able to use those tools as well. Because again, choice is key for us, and we want to make sure that self-managed solutions are always an option. If you are working on generative AI efforts currently, especially ones that are working with Rocket.Chat, we'd love to hear from you, because again, it's one of those areas that we are stronger together as we begin to expand options. Gabriel, do you want to add anything on that front?
No, I think I touched already on the beginning. That's a community that is very live and very vibrant, and we totally think that Rocket.Chat can be one of the best ways to deliver AI services, because of the power of the chat engine on how you can make things that go beyond just the text interface. You can have your own prompt builders and actions. We are going to add actions and buttons everywhere. So we really want to give a full experience and a full set of capabilities for people to develop the integrations into these AI services. And we are calling out to the community to start helping and participating on that.
Yeah, it's an exciting area, and it's one that we're definitely enjoying experimenting with. So, and kind of in relation to that, also, I think many people have probably noticed that the moderation dashboard has also been launched. For context, what the moderation dashboard is primarily for meeting the needs of large open registration community type of workspaces, where you have broad array of different users who can post in public rooms. As soon as you are in that space, you have to think in terms of content appropriateness, kind of UGC type of controls. So we've launched the moderation dashboard to make it very easy for users to report potentially inappropriate content, and for admins to then easily take action in relation to those messages or the users. Within the next week, so one looking forward item, we are also introducing AI-driven apps to augment the moderation capabilities. So a user reporting and an admin reacting, that is fundamentally first of all, a very valuable path, but it is reactive. As we proceed forward, the apps that we'll be launching will enable proactive moderation, using tools like the Perspective API for anti-abuse API, for example. We can enable workspaces who choose to use those apps to proactively identify potentially problematic messages before they're posted to a wide array of users. So we're excited about those capabilities. Shout out to Devanshu, who I see typing here, who has helped to lead a lot of that effort. As those are published, keep an eye on Marketplace. Please provide feedback on those apps and those capabilities. Okay. And then lastly, in terms of the looking back, video conferencing, more and more team collaboration messaging platforms and video conferencing, they go hand in hand. So we've been investing in improving the behaviors of our video call manager. Our 6.4 release, which should be, everyone fingers crossed, be dropped later today or tomorrow, includes actually improvements to the mobile ring-through capabilities relating to the initiation of video calls. It's an area that we continue to invest. We work, as with all areas, with a number of providers, but I do want to call out that we also have been partnering in our development heavily with Pexip. One of the reasons for that is we have a certain amount of shared DNA between Pexip and Rocket.Chat. Both of the organizations focus on deploy anywhere, self-managed models. We focus on data ownership, data sovereignty, security. So we fit very nicely together. So we've been working with the Pexip team who have helped to provide direction and guidance in relation to their experience with the market. And we expect during the coming year, as we continue to progress, to be focusing on a few additional things. We expect to be focusing on having video conferences initiated from a direct message conversation or an omni-channel conversation. that are managed within the application surfaces native in Rocket.Chat. We expect to be moving forward with that. We also expect to be working with PEXIP and maybe others on providing a facility for embedding a Rocket.Chat room within a video conference to essentially provide the chat functionality associated with the video conferencing within the platform, in this case, within the PEXIP platform. Okay. What that does is it ensures that you have a consolidation of that valuable information. You have a consolidation of your conversations. So that after the call has ended, that conversation will continue to exist within Rocket.Chat as a room or a thread. So we're continuing to evolve in all of these areas. So a lot has happened. But as we progress, for anyone who's using these capabilities, please provide feedback because we're continuing to invest and improve in each of these areas. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we're into the looking ahead to what's next. So I'm going to cover each of these three items. And then we're going to go into a couple of specific additional things that we're building. Okay. So what's coming up? End-to-end encryption. So end-to-end encryption has been marked in the Rocket.Chat platform with a beta tag for a long period of time. Some might actually say a comically long period of time, but there are reasons for it, right? So what we are now progressing forward with is exiting beta. So the beta tag will be removed. It's not a matter of just taking the beta tag off, though. There are three specific things that we're focusing on. So first, we deal with a lot of regulated organizations. And you have to keep in mind that true end-to-end encryption introduces the potential for permanent loss of data when client keys are not available. So to a regulated organization, for example, that may have to reply to an audit request from a regulator, we need to have a key offload capability where keys are offloaded to a secure lockbox that if there is an approved audit, those keys can be accessed. So we'll be looking to introduce that capability. Second, we're evaluating and potentially improving the encryption algorithm that we currently use. And third, we'll be looking to resolve some of the user experience incompatibilities that we have between encrypted messages and other functionality. So for example, search and encrypted messages don't naturally go together. We can resolve those things, but those are the three tracks as we work to remove the beta tag. Okay. All right. Next item, accessibility. And this is an important topic for us. So accessibility, well, as I've noted here, it looks like an alphabet soup of regulations across WCAG and local regulations like BitV in Germany or ADA in the United States. All of these regulations drive towards the same thing and the same admirable goal, which is that users with all ranges of physical abilities should be able to have the same access to valuable technology like Rocket.Chat. So we're investing heavily in this area to ensure that we are WCAG 2.1 compliant, to ensure that we are BitV and ADA certified. These are key areas. We're looking at this as table stakes. And it's a great confluence of a situation where we need to do this for our community users and customers, but it's also the right thing to do. We feel good about the changes to Rocket.Chat and ensuring that as many users as possible are able to use Rocket.Chat productively. Okay. And then third, scaling and performance. We're now at a stage where we have organizations that need to operate Rocket.Chat at very large scale. And in some cases, over 100,000 concurrent users on an individual workspace. We are working to ensure that we can operate at that level of performance, at that level of scale consistently. And I want to call it out that it's one of those things that sometimes seems a little bit behind the scenes. It isn't feature driven. It isn't a specific capability, but it is essential as we continue to grow. So our core team architecture group has been focused heavily on this. They will continue to focus heavily on this as we progress. We also will likely begin to publish some of our benchmarks relating to each of the milestones that we cross. Okay. Karash, I see a note in there saying removing scaling option from C was very disappointing. I understand that, but remember, we always have to think in terms of the sustainability of our overall ecosystem, right? So we are a commercial open source company. We don't have a funding source outside of our customer base. So as we serve our community, we also need to make sure that we are serving the customer base. That is how we ensure that we are properly funded so that we can be self-sustaining, which is really the goal. One of the things to note, while you might see that as disappointing, the scaling improvements that we have made even over the past year do add to the overall performance scale of a single instance. So while we have to strike the balance, we do need to ensure that as we progress, that we can grow the community, which is great to see that it's been growing, but we also have to grow the commercial and customer side of the business. So we've been trying to do both. And we try to struggle, work our way through the struggles of that balance, which is one of the items that we'll be talking about as we proceed. Okay. Okay. All right. So 3 items that are a little bit more visual that I want to highlight that we're working on. Gabriel, I think you're talking.
Yeah, sorry. This answer some of the questions that we have on the questions. People are asking about organizing the bar. So hopefully, go back.
I'm sorry.
What are you going to talk about right now? Just people are excited about changes to the sidebar. So
got it. Okay. All right. And yeah, Gabriel, feel free to jump in as needed. I can't keep an eye on the questions at the same time.
Yeah.
So for ones to call out, please mention them. So
to group channels and so.
Yeah. So this is an item that I think will have a appeal to a lot of different workspace operators. As most people know, we have a single sidebar within Rocket.Chat that is used for both the team collaboration use case and the omni-channel use case. That creates some challenges, right? We end up with compromises on both sides. So the first thing that we're doing, and the front end architecture team has begun to dig into the overall approach, is we will be shifting to essentially what operate as independent sidebars, right? So that way we can have a sidebar navigation that's optimized for team collaboration. We can have a sidebar that's optimized for omni-channel customer communications. We can break that situation where we're using a single sidebar and therefore having to compromise the solution on both sides. So, some of the specifics and some of what we're doing. So, goal number 1, like I said, is to split the 2 capabilities so that the omni-channel sidebar can be optimized for customer communication. Team collaboration can be optimized for the different preferences that users and administrators have. So that's item number 1. Second, user preferences. What we see and what we hear every day is the need for users to independently organize their conversations, their channels, their DMs into groups as they see fit. They want to have the ability to expand and collapse different groups. It's fundamental. It's an important need, and we are introducing that capability with the new sidebar. Okay. Third, administrator defaults, right? So for those of you on the call who are workspace administrators, you're always dealing with onboarding users and ramping them up and making sure they understand how to use the system. By being able to set administrator defaults, you can get the same starting point for all of your users. Keep in mind, then they can adapt to their own preferences. We want to provide flexibilities, but the goal is to ensure that administrators can set defaults in a way to optimize their onboarding process, their ramp up process, and their support for new users. Okay. And then lastly, a secondary sidebar. We are planning on, and keep in mind that, as we're going through the technical design, there are some moving pieces with this, but we are planning on introducing a secondary sidebar to add flexibility for omnichannel and team collaboration users. So the example here, you'll notice, is a case where we're showing a secondary sidebar that's been expanded out when the user clicked on their all conversations item within the primary sidebar. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading the live answering. Yeah. So the particular item here, it speaks to exactly what we're doing. Ability to group channels into different categories, to organize and expand and collapse those categories is exactly one of the items that we're driving to in item 2 on the slide here, with user preferences for managing the sidebar navigation.
Yeah, and one key point of this change, this is a design that I've dreamed about and been wanting to get it deployed for I don't know how many years already, because I think it can really optimize the way the communication works as a whole. When you have not just organizing the channels and groups, but by having the second sidebar, the way we're designing it, you can organize inside the channel, organize the conversation in topics, right? So almost like every discussion inside the channel can start by having an initial post message with a topic, a context, and then people can decide if they want to join that discussion or not. But it would be an easy way, a easier way to see the discussions that are going on a specific channel. We know that we already have that on the sidebar. I think it's already kind of, but feels that it's a bit hidden. What we're trying to convey here, and that's going to be a lot of experiments, is to try to drive a topic first conversation to channels that you choose. So where I think it's a lot more organized. You'll be able to flag a discussion as finished. Idea that you'll be able to have a timeline. Maybe you have to reach a conclusion or a priority for a discussion. So it needs to give a lot of power for channels, so they can really, rather than being that never-ending stream of notifications that you feel that you're missing out if you're not reading everything, that you have a better structure conversation around topics and around with timelines, with priorities, with like who is maybe responsible or who gave the conclusion. And that also goes all the way back to the power of AI, for an AI to then to infer a conclusion or give you a summary at the end of that discussion on that topic, or draw action points. It's a lot easier when the conversation is structured around topics or discussions, rather than you have a never-ending conversation. So we believe that these upgrade in the options that we're going to give in UI, drive a more structured conversation, will be the best way then for AI to integrate and give the right answers and participate and understand the flow of conversation. So for me, it's a long dream for have this done. So I'm very much looking forward for it.
Yep. Agreed. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue on, make sure that we stay roughly on time. All right. So the next item, which is also one that we hear about really every day, is global search. So what we're seeing is more and more organizations end up using their team collaboration messaging platform as a de facto knowledge repository, as a knowledge base. That's great. We're really excited about that. But in order to do that effectively, you need certain capabilities that make the information inherent in your organization's conversations available to your team in the future as they go forward. One of the key things that's needed is global search, right? And specifically the ability to have global search of messages. So this is an area that is challenging and we are addressing, with the understanding that we'll address it in a way that, just as I was mentioning before with generative AI, we'll provide options for self-managed or hosted cloud search providers, right? So going back to the theme, we'll provide choice so that organizations can determine what is appropriate for them. But the goal is, of course, to be able to have global search so that a user can search across all rooms within the workspace that they have permission to access to find message content, associated files, and links. Okay. And also to highlight, in terms of thinking about the challenges, that one note that I put in there relating to across rooms that they have access to is, of course, a vital part of what we're building. So how will this work? What we're targeting is that each organization will be able to select their search provider. Goal, starting point, and expectations, likely to have one self-managed option and one cloud search provider. Okay. You select which provider you want to use for indexing your messages, files, and links. Then, second, you go through the process of configuring your indexing options. Remember, indexing represents platform load as well. So some of the configuration is to ensure that the indexing process will be performant given the specifics of how your team works and the overall load that you have on the platform. From there, then, as I mentioned, users can search for messages, files, and links across all rooms where you have permissions. So key part of the transition to be able to use a messaging team collaboration platform as a functional knowledge repository, which is what we're working towards. One thing, just to kind of go back a little ways to what we were talking about before, there will be a second part of the strategy here that everyone should be aware of, which is generative AI. In this case, we're talking about indexing for search, but there's also the indexing of conversations for generative AI use. So as we progress and as we think about that concept of how can all of your conversations represent an accessible, usable, highly productive knowledge base, we're thinking in terms of two tracks: global search, and then the generative AI capabilities that enable you to summarize the content of a room into a knowledge management article, or summarize a thread so that you can receive a synopsis quickly. Both of those two things will be being explored. But in this context, what I want to highlight is we are focusing on the global search capability and driving this forward. Gabriel, anything to add on this one?
It's my other second dream. It's not something easy to fix, because it involves a lot of privacy and just by searching, but not also taking consideration all the privacy concerns and access to the right rooms and so on and so forth. So it's not easy, but it's definitely one of the things that I miss the most on our platform today.
Yeah, and architecturally, the way that everyone should think about it is as we create the indexing capabilities, the indexing has to be essentially room aware, since the room ID is a key data point in terms of then determining user access to that data. So it's index everything, make sure that the indexing is aware of the room IDs, and then all search results that are returned are, of course, filtered appropriately based on the room IDs. So. All right, cool. All right, and then one more feature-based item to highlight, and then we're going to talk a little bit about other changes from a business perspective and how we provide as many capabilities as possible to as many workspaces as possible. So last feature item, person-to-person outbound messaging. So this is, again, another one of those items that we hear about every single day. We've been really thrilled with the growth of the omni-channel platform and its usage, especially across some really interesting government citizen communication cases. It's something that I think is very motivating for us as a core team when we see governments modernizing and providing key essential social services via low-cost messaging channels to citizens. It's a great area of growth. But within omnichannel, we oftentimes see the need to initiate a person-to-person outbound message when there's not an active conversation open. So we are moving forward with developing this capability. The basic flow, as you would expect, is that if you want to initiate an outbound message, step one is you select an existing contact. Step two is then you choose from available channels for that contact, and then you send the message. There's a really important item to highlight in here that is part of the challenge of making this happen and providing this capability in a way that's sound. So right now, within Rocket.Chat, if I am a customer of an organization and I interact via live chat and I interact via WhatsApp, I'm really two separate conversations. I'm two separate contacts. So as we work to enable this, just so everyone is aware, we will be introducing a single contact ID that conversations across multiple channels can then be associated with. That will be a powerful capability in terms of ensuring that as a customer, as a citizen, you can contact an organization via the channel of your choosing and not be concerned or worried that other parts of your ongoing conversation that were conducted via another channel are lost in the discussion. So baked into this person-to-person outbound messaging is the development of that single contact ID that unifies conversations across multiple channels. Okay. All right. Okay. So those are some of the feature highlights. Those are things that are coming. A few things to emphasize. Are they being built all at once? No. We have a sequencing in here. The way that we will work and progress is as items get underway and get progressed from design into build stage. That's the point in time where we start to get clarity on our delivery dates. To the extent that your organization or your workspace has questions about these, please feel free to reach out to me. Please feel free to reach out to Gabriel or others that you're in contact with. And we'll share where we're at with our overall delivery dates. In some cases, we may not know yet, but all of these items are moving forward. Again, they won't all be moving forward in tandem with one another. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we're going to shift gears and talk about some key things with the business that are very important to all workspace owners. Recently, Gabriel and I and others have been spending a lot of time thinking about making sure that we are focused on our organizational imperatives and that we're sticking to them, that we're delivering on them. And three that I'd like to call out that we've talked about is, first of all, we have to deliver value, right? And that's the part that we just talked about, of all of the things that we're working on and building and delivering to make sure that our workspace owners are getting a valuable experience, that we're continuing to innovate. The second item is that we continue to provide choice, right? So someone had asked about the scaling side of things. We have to provide choice, right? So in some cases, it's choice between being a customer versus a community member. But in all cases, we believe that you should have a choice between open source and being a customer. We believe that you should have a choice when integrating with other tools between using a multi-tenant cloud solution versus a self-managed on-premise solution. Okay. And then third, an area that we talked about that we fundamentally need to get better at is promoting responsible use of Rocket.Chat. So we're going to talk a little bit about a few key changes that are coming up in the business that we're excited about and we think are really good for all workspace owners relating to all three of these. Okay. All right. So first item, introducing new plans. So first off, we are within about the next month, we're launching 2 new plans. The most important thing, and the thing that I'm really excited about, is that we're launching the starter plan. The starter plan, just to make it very clear for everyone, will provide free use on an open-ended basis of the vast majority of our premium capabilities, meaning premium features, premium apps for workspaces at limited scale of use, meaning up to 25 users or 100 monthly active contacts. If you fit into that category, which is a large percentage numerically of workspaces, you will now have access using the starter plan to premium capabilities for free. Now, let's talk a little bit about the reason why, and then I'll be quiet and get Gabriel's take on this. So the first thing of why we want to do this is it improves the feedback loop, right? We want more feedback on premium features, the good parts, the bad parts of each, from a broader array of workspaces. This helps us to do that. Second, we want a broader array of workspaces to have access to those premium capabilities, to see the value that they can get, and then they'll have a choice if they grow of whether they want to keep those capabilities on the premium side as they exceed the limits, or whether they don't see value. If they don't see value, that is also feedback for us. So I'm really excited about making sure that smaller workspaces have access to premium capabilities. The last thing I'll note on it is, as you've heard us talk about many times, when we're building new things, we always have the decision to make of, is this something that is available to all community workspaces, or is this a premium customer capability, right? And we have lane A and lane B. What the starter plan, which is free, open-ended use for small workspaces, gives us, is an additional option. If we choose to make something available to customers only, it is still available in the starter plan for free. We get the wider feedback loop, right? We get more input. We create more valuable capabilities this way, and it gives us an in-between to hopefully, restore balance in the force as we go. Pardon the pun. So Gabriel, I'll pause there on starter, and then we can talk a little bit about pro as well. But thoughts?
Yeah, that was a long conversation and mindful conversations with community, with team, with our customers, and we're really trying to find this balance. Like having a successful open source project organization means being able to give things for your community, people that are contributing, but also building a balance that corporations, organizations, governments, and enterprise that are on your ICP, your ideal customer profile, see the value of paying and moving to a pro. And that is what gives us the funds to invest back in the product and continue to build the features, making the whole circle continue to move. Better product, more customers, better product, and make the community that is helping us in this journey happy. So having the starter plan that allows those organizations to experience the full set, all these features that only large organizations, paying organizations would be experienced, but having them to use it, but and understanding there's a folks on servers that are medium to small, communities or companies, organizations. I think hopefully we stroke is a good step to strike the right balance. We'd love to hear more feedback. We're always evolving and moving in that direction. We will still, like Chris said, in every decision, we're going to decide on where to put each of those features, who is the buyer, what is the type of organization, do they have the budget to pay this kind of development, or is it an important feature for them? But then having the option to always give it for free, even if you put on a paid license and a paid plan, to give it for free for a small organization, I think is a big step to show that we want the community and people who help us to succeed and have access to all the features. So hopefully you guys can see there is a big step from our side of trying to listen to the feedback in the forum, to what people said, to try to make things right, to have the right balance. But I'll love to hear your thoughts, and let's see. I'm looking forward to all the community be able to have access to those features.
Yeah, and it's a big step, and so just so everyone knows, there's a very large percentage of workspaces have below 25 users. We are essentially providing all premium capabilities to all of those workspaces for free. So it's a big step for us. I think it's the right decision, and I'm glad we've gone this way. One of I see the question here relating to read receipts. And so let me address this a little bit and how this actually ties into the starter plan that we're providing for free. So everyone knows the history on read receipts. So read receipts was always labeled as a premium enterprise feature, but we didn't enforce it. I see the reaction there. It was always labeled as a premium enterprise feature that we did not enforce. That is the reality. And the reason for that is we had some issues with it. We had some issues with it in terms of threads and other situations. To repeat, it was always labeled as a premium enterprise feature, but we didn't enforce it. When we invested last year in improving it and making sure that read receipts could actually be auditable for regulated organizations and others that depend on those receipts, at that point in time, we did begin enforcing. As you can see, just from the upvotes here, we got a lot of feedback saying, hey, that's really problematic for us. And to illustrate, we're not blind to that. We don't ignore the feedback. And so this is something that Gabriel and I and others in the organization, we spent a lot of time thinking about. We said, hey, we have certain realities. We have to fund that development that we put into the work. But at the same time, we're not here to penalize smaller workspaces. And in fact, in the forums, there were a lot of references to, hey, we're operating a small workspace. We need this. That is an example, one of the drivers of why we introduced the starter plan, why we're giving away essentially all of the premium features to smaller workspaces, open-ended. It's not a trial. Small workspaces can use those features for as long as they want. So it's a big step for us. Are we going to move read receipts back to community for unlimited scale? No, we don't have an intention to do that at this point in time. We're responding to the forum feedback that very specifically was calling out small workspaces and their needs. And, we always have to think about our balances, but we're really happy to be delivering not just read receipts back to smaller workspaces, but a full array of premium capabilities. All of the premium apps, all of the premium features will be available for free, limited scale of use. Okay.
Hopefully, I think, like I said, we did look at the statistics about the number of community servers or people running the community edition, how many users they have, active users on their deployments. And then, so we did try to find a balance where we could serve the vast majority of those deployments, giving them all those features for free as part of a starter plan, while still not cannibalizing the advantage of having a pro plan. So we also have some other pricing plans for different industries, for education and nonprofits. So we'll try to address also the requirements for pro, or people who want to have scale, but it's education or nonprofit. We do have other ways to address it. But again, right now we feel that we are capable of giving back to the community through starter, find a way to deliver pro, and make it interesting to a range of different organizations and also take in consideration the industries that they're on. So I think we are going on the right direction. It's going to be perfect, make everybody happy. I think that's kind of impossible to make everybody happy. There's always going to be people that obviously gets frustrated. Maybe it's a case by case basis. Sometimes we talk and try to find alternatives, but I believe that it is for the majority of our users, our community members, our servers, and for the organization to grow. This is a big step on the right direction.
Agreed. I'm not going to go through all of the details on each of the plan, but a quick statement on the Pro plan. The Pro plan is structured as an attractive price point for really mid-size organizations. So Pro is structured for up to 500 users or 15,000 monthly active contacts on the omni-channel side of things. Each of those statistics match up with roughly what you can operate at with a single instance, properly sized single instance workspace. So that's Pro. And then Enterprise remains as it is in the future. Our external communication teams will be providing more details on each of these plans as they launch within the next month. But closing thought, like I said, and to emphasize what Gabriel is saying, we always have to strike the balance. We always are listening to feedback from the community, while also keeping in mind that we have to operate as a sustainable organization, right? There is no outside funding source that we can just consume permanently. We need to make sure that we have the right balance between community growth and customer growth. We endeavor to get that right. And in some cases, we see areas where there's certain pushback, like with read receipts. So we introduce a change, like what we're doing here with the free limited scale of use starter plan. So we introduce those things to try to strike the balance. And we're always interested in feedback. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're just about to the end of our content. I want to make sure that everyone stays focused for a minute on another upcoming change. So historically, we have worked as an organization to be as accommodating as possible, meaning that our cloud services will work with virtually any version of Rocket.Chat. Our mobile apps and our desktop apps can connect to virtually any server version. We're at the stage where we need to stop doing that. We need to make sure that workspaces are being kept up to date. And many of you, I think, hopefully most of the workspace operators have seen our deprecation notice relating to access to cloud services and the ability to use our published mobile and desktop apps for older unsupported versions of Rocket.Chat. The deprecation notice that went out specified October 1st. Just so everyone knows, you're going to be getting warnings in your workspace starting October 1st, but you will not be cut off in terms of those capabilities if you're on an unsupported version until the end of October. But it requires attention. It does require you, if you choose to continue to use our cloud services, if you choose to continue to use our published mobile and desktop apps, you need to make sure that you're on a supported version. So let me talk for a moment about why. So first, data security, right? We regularly have security patches, security improvements that are introduced in Rocket.Chat. If you are running an outdated, unsupported version of Rocket.Chat, then you are taking on the risk of running a version that there are potentially documented filed vulnerabilities that have not been closed on those older versions. Okay, so it's important to be aware of that. Any version that is within our support window, if we have a security vulnerability, we also patch other versions that are within the support window. So from a security standpoint, it's important to have that cadence and be updating your workspaces to stay within our support window. Okay. A second issue for us, just to highlight it, is we go through a certain amount of code backflips to ensure that all of those older versions will work seamlessly with cloud services, will work with our mobile and desktop apps. That's something just from an overall load that we need to reduce. So again, going forward, it's important if you want to use cloud services and our mobile and desktop apps, keep your workspace current, because we don't have the ability, for example, to support all the way back to version 0.7 for connecting via mobile, as an example. Okay. And then the third side of it is unlocking Rocket.Chat's full potential. Like any platform, we're always trying to address bugs, issues with the platform. We're always introducing, as we've talked about today, new features, new capabilities. The best way to provide a quality user experience to users is to stay current, is to stay within the support window. So those are 3 reasons that are very important. Okay. One thing to note, going back to it, is we do focus on providing choices. If you, as a workspace owner, choose not to update, remember there are open source options for you, but they'll require work. We really do recommend just simply staying current. So if you choose not to, then in terms of cloud services, you'll need your own push notification server. You won't have access to Marketplace. You won't have access to omni-channel gateway. Okay, so keep that in mind. Same thing, our mobile and desktop apps, they are open source, but if you choose not to update, you will need to run your own build and publish mobile apps and desktop apps on your own. Okay, so really important. We've sent out deprecation notices. You'll continue to receive those in your workspace, and please be aware. Please keep your workspaces up to date within our support window. Okay. Okay. So kind of putting these pieces together, and this is kind of summarizing, the balance that we are always trying to strike in terms of making sure that we provide choices that grow both our community and the company, right? And as we've talked about, the community edition will always be available for workspace owners who choose to go that route. It is always available under MIT open source license. So kind of summarizing, just to illustrate what will be happening as we progress forward with 6.5. First, delivering value. New deployments and version updates will be given the starter plan, will be added to the workspace. Okay. What that does is it pulls pro features, our premium features, forward for free use into the starter plan with the limited scale of use, with those caps. Okay. Any workspace that goes over, we're essentially just going to provision an extension so that we can have a discussion. You can make a decision about whether you want those premium features or you want to opt out to Community Edition. Okay. That brings me to the next point, providing choice. Workspace owners will be able to remove the starter plan if they choose to, in which case they'll revert to Community Edition, right? And as a reminder, commercial features aren't available. The premium features aren't available to workspaces that opt for Community Edition.
Chris, maybe there's some people asking, like, what happens to deployments which are Community Edition for now, which have more than 25 users? Can you just not use Rocket.Chat anymore, or you cannot upgrade? No, absolutely. Like, nothing changes if you are in Community Edition and you have as many users as you have. The only thing that you're not gonna, what are you offering? An extra for people using Community Edition with less than 25 users. Now there is a plan. There's a free plan called Starter that they will have the features of the Pro without having to pay for it. So that's the only added extra. So people who are already using Community Edition, nothing changes for you. To make it very, very clear, it's only if you have up to 25 users, you'll be able to have access to all the Pro features for free on the starter plan. Hopefully that clears up the question.
Yeah, and to make it dead simple clear, no one loses access to the Community Edition if they choose to use it. If you're below 25 users and you update, you're given the starter plan, you can use that for as long as you want. If you're over the 25 users, it'll automatically provision trial access to the pro capabilities so that you can try them out. You can evaluate the premium features, you can evaluate the premium apps, and make a decision. In either of those cases, if you at any time decide you want to use the Community Edition, you simply remove that plan, you remove that license, and you are using Community Edition. So no removal of access in any way for any workspace to Community Edition. Okay. And then lastly, promoting responsible use, and then let's kind of jump into questions, because I know we've run a little bit long. Again, just to state it, workspaces must be on supported version to access cloud services. That is in force as of the end of October. Okay, workspaces must be on supported version to use mobile and desktop apps. That's in force at the end of October. And then as a reminder, we do have the free and open source options available to any workspaces that choose not to stay current. We don't recommend it for the same reason that we talked about before in terms of security patches and access to new things that we're creating. But as a reminder, going back to the point about choice, those options are available if workspaces choose to go that route. Okay. So kind of in conclusion, just to state it, I'm really excited about the work that we have planned coming up. As I said before, we've had a few of those that we've been sitting on for a while for that feels like a comically long time, just because of capacity to address them. So I'm excited to be proceeding forward with the items that we highlighted. I am excited about the fact that we've made a very big decision as an organization to provide the starter plan for open-ended free use for small workspaces going forward. And I think that does help address a lot of the specific feedback in forums. And I am, even though it is a restriction, I am excited about the fact that we are moving ahead with being much more clear on the need to stay on supported versions, because us as a core team, that makes it much easier for us to support all of the workspaces within the support window. And it ensures as well that workspaces are secure and that users have access to the best of Rocket.Chat. So like I said, I'm excited with the changes. I hope other people are. As always, please reach out for feedback. And with that, Gabriel, we should probably jump into a few of the questions.
Yeah, there's some many people already asking for the new pricing. We have not updated the pricing page yet. I'm not sure if we can give any spoiler, or with the new release, we already targeting for the price page update.
I think we're leaving that to launch, but we should have the details on the updated pro plan pricing within, available to everyone within the next couple of weeks. And I can say it is a more accessible, which means cheaper, price point than enterprise.
Yeah, it's like a considerable discount on the current plans for the pro plan. Let me see others. There was a question about. I think we are in the Q&A, right, Chris? Or
yeah, I was going through the questions. One user had asked about whether there's a recording of this, and yes, we do have the recording that is shared to all participants who have joined after the call. Okay. Someone actually had asked why we have these via Livestorm. That is one of the reasons, because it's more of an event management platform. It gives us the ability to share the recordings in a convenient way afterwards. Okay. If you I'm scanning through and trying to address items as I see them.
The pricing page will be publishing and sent to people. More people asking about the pro plans. We talked about some integration with Nextcloud and WebDAV. We do have existing integration with Nextcloud. I'm not sure if people have already tested, but obviously always open to feedback. There's room for improvement on the WebDAV support. And there's another Philip Sprung asking if we do have plans to integrate with OpenTalk. We haven't planned it yet, but again, the way the Rocket.Chat is built, with the emphasis on choice, and the way our video conferencing integrations and the abstraction layer works, we expected it shouldn't be too hard to build new integration apps to other systems. Obviously, it's going to depend on the APIs that they provide, or what components they provide to have a good experience. But at least the initial call initiation and this kind of features inside, it should be straightforward to build an app integrating those others.
Okay. Juan had asked about getting involved in the open source community, and let's circle back to that to that topic. So as we talked about, we have looked, we have tried to increase the number of submitted PRs that we're able to review and merge. I think the number is 68 so far this year. But one of the things that Gabriel and I have been discussing is, how do we now formalize a program a little bit more to make sure that potential contributors have a clearer view of opportunities to contribute. And as our overall ecosystem grows, we have, just like any open source effort, we have a significant pool of open feature requests, issues. Some of those come from customers, some of them are from community members. As a core team, we can't always get through everyone that we want to, and the overflow of those all represent opportunities for open source contributions. And going along with that, it's also important to find ways to make sure that people don't work on a potential contribution that then isn't going to be accepted. So we haven't figured out all of the details of it, but to summarize, and Gabriel, you can add on to this, the conversation we're having is, in cases where we know that we have specific items that we're not allocating resources on, we'd like to publish information about those items so that contributors can select from them. What that does, it sets up kind of a virtuous cycle where a contributor knows that they're working on something that is a stated need and that does not overlap with something that the core team is doing. And that significantly increases the percentage chance of any contributions actually being merged. Gabriel, do you want to add anything on that? Because I know we don't have the specific mechanisms to communicate today on that.
Yeah, it's always one, join Rocket.Chat, join the community chat. There's a community channel. Talk to our developers singly, get involved. Also, please always talk to us before starting to act on any issue, because, like Chris said, it's important to get some feedback on how to build something to make sure that it's going to be aligned with the architecture and the way we want things to be done, so we can merge it. And you find there's a very welcoming team, welcoming crowds. So there's a lot of people always offering to help and giving you some advices. And join the next Google Summer of Code. There's always a really good way to start getting engaged as well. So I don't know, it's very welcoming. Join Rocket.Chat and look at some of the issues, get some ideas, share with us, discuss, and then we'll be happy to help you along the journey.
Okay. So with that, I know we've run long, but I think this is probably a good point to conclude. There are undoubtedly questions and all that we haven't gotten to. As always, we encourage everyone to reach out to us or other members of the Rocket.Chat team that you're in contact with, and we will certainly try to address all questions as they come in. Please stay tuned in terms of additional updates on the starter plan and the pro plan, and we're excited for the upcoming work.
Absolutely. I tried to give most of the answers on the questions. Some, if we have an answer here talking with you, have tried to answer with text. I think I get most of them. If not, please hit us on the Rocket Chat channels as well. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. Hopefully you guys are as excited as we are about the future, about where we're going, how the project is maturing and evolving. And I'm really looking forward for these new features, especially the new sidebar and the global search. Those are things that are going to make a huge improvement on productivity for everybody.
All right.